Hello, hello. Welcome to what's my first video on Captain of Industry, and I'm covering here the new update 3. It's a massive new update that came out and is I think a year in the making, possibly. I'm not that far into it, but there has been a big controversy, it seems, around the UI changes. A lot of UI changes were made. In fact, like the major part of this update is, as you'll see in the trailer, and you know, we've got trains, we've got space program stuff. So that's really what the update's about. But they did a lot of work on UI. And it's been causing a problem. And for me, I'm a bit of a UI wonk, and I do like understanding what people think of UI and how they use it, and so I was just really fascinated, and I want to explore: is it really as bad as it's being made out to be, or is it that a lot of people hate change, or somewhere in the middle, of course? So let's just dive in. So essentially, what I've done is I've just kind of grabbed a bunch of different complaints that I've seen on the forums, on the Discord. Let's just kick off. So one of the first ones that I was just, let's throw this in that camp of, in my opinion, something to complain about. But it's the transparency found in the UI in certain areas of the UI, and I don't know how much you can see this, but here under no active alerts, you can see that there's transparency in this bar, and it was clearly enough to bother the developers, that one of the first hot fixes that happened is they added a disable the transparency. So you can see it best here on the right hand side. If I click this button, now it's not transparent anymore. And look, I don't want to disparage accessibility, because I understand a lack of contrast on colors can be a problem, but it just seems so minor. I guess, yeah, if it was an accessibility thing, fine, fine, fine. But I'm fine with it. All right, next one. Okay, so just more of a universal complaint is that this UI is worse than the previous one. Give us the option to get it back. And I just want to say, as someone coming from software development, that is such a monumental ask to say, can I have two UIs? Just keep supporting one entire branch of UI and the brand new one. It's just not possible. There's so much to do, because a UI isn't just the paint, right? Like, there's so many things that so many mechanics that the UI represents, and as mechanics change, you need to make sure your UI is supporting it. So it's just not feasible. So don't ask for that. It's not going to happen. So a lot of screen clutter, wasted space. So this is an interesting one. So there's been a lot of complaints about this. So ultimately, what's definitely different is that you click on any given dialog box, and it's very large, very bubbly. It's definitely, there's a lot more white space around, which usually people want. White space is kind of seen as it removes visual clutter, but in a information dense game like this, often people actually kind of want less space between things. So it's hard to say, and as I said, I'm actually kind of early in the game, so you're not seeing a huge amount of statistics here, right? Like, this is going to get so much more populated with loads more items. I don't know. So this is a tough one. It's very nebulous. It can definitely be tweaked over time. I would definitely put this one in the not as bad as people making out, but I hear the complaint. All right, what's next? Font complaints. I mean, this one I really don't get. Again, I think the fonts are bold, clear. The numbers are now in this kind of calculator digital format, which was not the case before. Looks like fine to me. It's a little stylized. I kind of like the separation of like the variable number with the maximum number. I think that distinction helps. Like, I see this sort of visual and think the number can change over time. I don't know. That's what it insinuates to me. I think font complaint a little blown out of proportion. This pie chart is new. Um, so yeah, I'm okay with the fonts. All right, what do we got? Okay, select a building. Building recipe requires 2 clicks. So this one, so yeah, so okay, let's go over what it is. So it's basically you click on a building, and it used to be that the instant you click on a building, let's just actually like, let's say we made a brand new building. So like right here, or actually this is a copy, so it's already got the settings in there. But let's like actually select a new building. So like assembly one, click, um, and this new building right here, note that I click on it, single click, and it has no recipes assigned, and I can't see any of the recipes. So it used to be that you would click it and you would immediately see everything it could make, and then with a single click you could then set it to make something. Now I have a big big yellow set recipes button. I click it, and now the recipes come up. And then I have a search bar, which I hadn't noticed. I think that's new, and I suppose, yeah, like I'm typing for like construction, so it has the construction parts. Does that include ingredients too? Yep. So like copper, you can see copper is in there. So it's a way to kind of reduce. And I can see, again, this is a late game thing where a lot of machines end up having, possibly tens of recipes inside of them. So you do want to be able to like reduce it down. And I don't know an exact uh, solution to this. I get what they were doing. There's other information around a building that you need access to, and the recipes could completely dominate that visual. But I think it's one of those early game things that is what's causing the problem. Is it because in the early game, it does seem unnecessary that like, okay, I select a building, I plonk it down, I click it, and I want to set the recipe really quick. And instead, I've got to go through this second click mechanic and then pick a recipe. And then close the select recipes. One click is now 3 clicks. And extra clicks, generally not considered a good thing. So yeah. So, I buy into that one. I'd actually call that one of the most valid complaints. Next one is a notification system. So I love the new notification system. I don't get it. So like it used to be that you just had a whole list of things constantly coming down the left here. And even more so, like in this game, you tend to research a lot faster than you actually implement the technology. Because you just kind of have research labs going. You don't ever want to not be researching, but you're spinning up the tech a lot slower. So you'll have like a lot of research just kind of that you haven't actually implemented yet. And one way to kind of keep track of, okay, oh yeah, what was I going to work on next, was to see, well, what research haven't I implemented? And it used to be that you just leave these notifications up, because as soon as you dismissed one of them, that's it. Like it's gone forever, and you might forget about that research, and it's just annoying to think back on. So now they've put it in its own tab, and I'm less bothered, and I assume this will scroll eventually. So I'm so much less bothered about leaving like unused research just to kind of fill up. So I really like that. I like that we've now got these separators. You've got your goals that you can bring up or down. We've got this message center, which is where it's kind of so this is announcing that you've unlocked something. So there's the tutorial screen, you can read about it. This also is where you'll get information of your ship having done work and coming back, and so that's separated out now from goals and technology. And then you've got like the alerts, which this one's been a real pain in the backside. Yeah, moving on. Notification system. So next one, mining area control. Okay, so this is not my other top. This is easily in my top 2. So we go to a mining tower, and well, like let's make a new mining tower, which incidentally has also been put in a weird. So we've got this new terraforming group. I'm pretty sure this did not exist before. So the mining tower used to be kind of with like general buildings, maybe, or vehicles or something like that, or logistics. But now it's like terraforming. So it took me ages to find that. Here's a complaint I haven't seen many people make, but like what I don't like is that like you've got this search, so I can type in search, so I'll type like mine control tower, and then it comes up. Great, so that's nice and quick. But like if I wanted to actually navigate to it, I still don't know where this is. So like you see how it says mine control tower, but how would I get to it from these categories down here? It's not actually highlighted. It's not in transports. Transports is highlighted for some reason right now. Don't know why. Maybe it was the last thing that was showing. So then if I remove that from search, yeah, see like I'm in transports. Let's try that again. I'm type mine. Yeah, even weirder, right? So it's highlighting transports for some reason, even though that's not where it is. But let's go to the mind control tower issue. So if I put down a mind control tower, then like in the original game, you click on it and it denotes like a default area. If you want to change the area of it, you would hit edit area, and then it would bring up a thing where you can draw a new square, and that's it. You couldn't change the square that existed. You just had to draw a brand new one. So that was a little annoying. It worked, it did its purpose, but it would be nice to be able to edit this square itself. And you can see now the default is you can actually drag the square around, which you couldn't do before. So that's good. But then the weird thing is that if you want to resize it, for some reason, somebody said, hey, you know what would be great is if we could make like polygonal shapes. Now, I'm not quite sure why you would ever really want this because, um, ultimately all this area is denoting is you're going to be placing, if I can just, well, I want to sort of do it while you can see the area, but like, yeah, like you're just denoting where you're going to mine, right? So the mines, the mining area or dumping, either one, is in grids, is in these like, like a 4x4 grid. So why you would want polygonal shape, a polygonal shape here? It's like you're gonna be kind of in and out of the lines, right? Like why is that useful? That's just gonna cause an alert saying, that you are out of the line. So like I don't know why I would ever want to get out of a rectangular shape here. And then on top of that, like so even if you do allow this, and it's got this kind of elaborate, like, oh, I'm going to add a point, and then, create like, yeah, it's a funky little shape controller, sure, like really flexible. But like really what I want to be able to do is just grab a corner and expand it like how you would do in any paint tool where you keep the rectangular shape and it expands, keeping an aspect ratio of a rectangle, right? So I don't know. It's definitely a weird one. And actually, in a hotfix, what they've just added, like hot off the press here, is that you go to edit area, and then here they've added this, select a new rectangular area. So this is basically what we had before, where you've already got this area denoted. But if you want to just redraw it entirely, you click here, and now you can draw a new one, just like you did before, and you can make a rectangle, right? It's kind of like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So now let me like drag and change the rectangle, and instead I make this whoop. Yeah, I don't know why. Don't know why at all. All right, so variant buildings and dropdowns. So another complaint I've been seeing here is that, and it's actually interesting. So here we've got a bunch of different trees, but they're all in like one one menu, right? However, if we think of something like, I don't know where anything is, but yeah, here we go, retaining wall, right? So it used to be the retaining wall would be, there's a lot of different variants of retaining wall. So now you've got this arrow to say that, hey, if you mouse over it, now you can see a bunch of other options and select the one you want. And so now that's the default one to place, and then if you want to get a different one, you have to mouse over and select it. So it's removing clutter from the primary menu, but the downside is it's hiding potentially things that you wanted to find. I will say, I do think there's a bit of an issue as well with, for instance, look at the assembly. So here I am on assembly 1, and and it's showing me like what the assembly 1 figures are. But if I then mouse over assembly 2, now it's showing me the assembly 2 figures, and it says assembly 2, but it's still highlighting assembly 1 right there, right? Like there's something kind of not right about that. Like it should, I didn't click assembly 2, so I guess that's why it hasn't like locked it in. Like I'm going to click it now, but then by clicking that, it's actually set me onto this building. So now I go back here, and assembly 2 is the default, right? So that's now why it's highlighted. But yeah, there's definitely something weird. So like I'm seeing assembly 2 numbers, I mouse upwards here to assembly 1, and now I'm seeing assembly 1 numbers. But it's still highlighting 2 because that's the default pick. There's something that could be done with that, I think. I get the purpose of submenus. So I'd put this right in that middle spot. I think I do like submenus better than just filling this bottom bar with so many things, but it's not quite baked yet. So in the technology screen, for example, let's say we wanted to kind of investigate, one of the first places where, things start to get a little more overwhelming, right? So we've got advanced diesel, and it's showing the buildings that it unlocks and the new recipes. Well, okay, good to know, but I don't know if you notice this, but like there's a horizontal bar here, and when I scroll it to the right, you can see this. So here's some byproduct that I need to be very aware of, to plan, but it's just perfectly placed that I would barely have even noticed it. So, that's not great. And if you see in the settings here, I'm currently at scale of 100%, which you would think should mean the default scale. Like this is the size of all the interface and text that the developers intended for you to see. And then only, if you want to change that and maybe get more real estate space and shrink the text or make it bigger, then maybe you'd get issues like this. But like this should definitely not be like the 100% scale default. And I mean, it's tough because, obviously there are many recipes that are more than 2. So how do you manage this? I'm not sure the answer. I mean, I would say like this is not a resizable pane. So maybe I can imagine people being more interested in having this be larger so that you can, you can kind of see more information about the recipes. So yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, this definitely feels a little odd. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Yeah. So look, conclusion for me is a bit of an overreaction from community on, changes. Some very valid, but it's not like crazy end of world. Like put it back the way it was. You really. There's some comments that are like you flubbed this bad. Like this is a 2-man team that I think is probably one of the most underappreciated automation games there are. Like this game just looks awesome. It's got unique mechanics from like the big 3. You think of Factorio, Satisfactory, Dyson Sphere Program. It's got a fraction of those sales, and yeah, I'd put it easily within the same level of complexity. All of those are also much further along games, but this is a 2-man operation, highly optimized. It's got unique theme, unique mechanics. When you got to deal with byproducts and terraforming to mine, like, yeah, miss it at your peril, and cut some slack when like a massive new update hits. That's all I got.